Okay, so before we get too into mastodons in the Great Lake, I think we should get a little background info on ice ages and the most recent one and its impact that it actually had on this region right here. So firstly, an ice age is a period of time where global temperatures are relatively cold and large portions of Earth are covered by thick sheets of ice.
The Ice Age was a pretty cool time. Amazing animals used to live then, and as it ended, it left some awesome landforms behind.
I think we should start with the mastodon painting. I mean, mastodons are older than the Great Lakes.
This painting was the artist's representation of Waterloo 12,000 years ago. In this painting, there's a mastodon wandering through Waterloo wetlands and its surroundings. The vegetation consisted of open spruce and other herbaceous plants over the sparsely populated wetlands. The low-lying areas in the painting contain wetlands with hills in the background.
The painter uses a rule of thirds, which is more off to the side than it is in the center. So to create depth, the painter also uses like an aerial perspective, which explains why there's so much more detail in the front to where the grass is and the river, rather than like the background of the trees on the hill, so that they come off like a bit more fuzzier and dull.
Not too far away from the large mastodon painting is a sculpture and fountain of the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are 5 lakes all located around the border between Ontario and the States. Each lake has its own unique characteristics varying in size and depth to the ecosystems they support. This sculpture is a replica.
So the 5 pieces, which each represent a Great Lake, all come together to make this sculpture. Each piece, although it's a little bit different, shares some of the same characteristics and are interconnected as the Great Lakes are in real life, demonstrating that the Great Lakes aren't separate entities and neither are these pieces. Each large subunit is made up of smaller subunits. So in this piece, each lake is carved out of its own rectangular slab of granite, which is the same type of stone found in the Canadian Shield, and the Canadian Shield is where the Great Lakes are actually located.
Did you know that like 11,000 years ago, where the Great Lakes are now, that's where mastodons used to walk?
Tell me more about mastodons in their painting.
That the colors of the painting create a contrast between the darker colors and the lighter colors. Specifically, there are lots of dark green vegetation that contrasts with the sky. This is really similar to the skies and rivers during the winter times.
Overall, this painter uses a cool tone palette consisting of green, white, grayish blue, and brown. The frozen water and snow is an accurate description of what the typical landscape would look like during the daytime.
Oh, that's really interesting about the use of colors that the painter used. On our sculpture, the straight lines of each granite piece make each lake look like it's a block of Lego. All 5 blocks interlocking and connecting to form the finished piece. The glue holding the individual lakes together is the water. It effortlessly flows from lake to lake, connecting them as they are in real life.
The harsh straight lines on the outside of the granite blocks really contrast the smooth and organic lines representing the shores of the lakes. The shore of each lake is really continuous, as if Mother Nature herself had etched out their extremities. The natural flow and ease of the sculpture is a theme that you can see throughout the whole piece.
I like how you observed of the natural flow of the sculpture. In contrast, our painting is classed as realistic.
So this picture is depicting literally what's presented like right in front of us, even though Mark has never seen a mastodon in real life. This doesn't represent something even though it's painted in a way to make it look like a picture, a snapshot instead of like a progressing photo.
Wait, do you have a picture? I really want to get a closer look.
Yeah.
Wow, it really is so lifelike. The Great Lake sculpture is also pretty lifelike. I mean, it is based after a real thing.
The sculpture is quite large, and your eyes naturally follow the flow of the water as it makes its way through the lake system, trickling from one lake to another. You can hear the water flowing from the top of the sculpture to the bottom.
Yeah, when you're standing there and you shut your eyes, it almost sounds like there's a creek flowing in the distance. It really inspires peacefulness inside of me. And as you can hear the calm and water flowing down from the top, it insinuates a tranquil environment inside the museum. And I know the Great Lakes really insinuate a tranquil environment for me. When I think Great Lakes, I think calmness, spending time with my family, relaxing, enjoying my time. I don't know about you guys, but I've always had good experiences with the Great Lakes.
Yeah, I love going to Harborfront, especially in the summer. It's so nice. But you know what I don't see at Great Lakes right now?
What?
Mastodons. You know what I would have seen 11,000 years ago?
What?
Mastodons!
Yeah, back to the painting though.
So like to talk about the movement of the eye, you begin to analyze the painting by moving across the picture itself. So you begin at the bottom to like where the cool tone detailed grass field is, and then you move along and you follow the curve of the river, and then you eventually reach like the mastodon.
This part is very important because even though the mammal is the focal subject to the painting, you don't look at it first because it is a middle ground instead of the foreground. The foreground would relate to the river and the grass area, as you can see, because the mastodon is the middle ground.
This entire painting was drawn in a single fixed perspective, as in that it was painted as if the painter stood in one spot and didn't move.
So the entire purpose of this picture is to depict the mastodon, not to make a comment about the political climate or the atmosphere, but simply a story of the mastodon in its natural habitat.
Wow, I've never really thought of it that way. But back to the Great Lakes, the sculpture basically played the same role Mother Nature did during the last ice age, demonstrating that nature is a form of art. Every nook and cranny of the sculpture mirrors the real-life ones that were so forcefully chiseled out of the Earth's crust.
Yeah, when you look at the piece, it really makes you think about the sheer force put into creating the Great Lakes. The piece really makes you think about what the Great Lakes mean to you. You know, I think a lot of the times we take the Great Lakes for granted and we don't really think about the role that they play in our everyday lives and how influential they were in today's society and past societies. If the Great Lakes didn't exist, I feel like we probably wouldn't even be here right now.
Wow, I never realized that without the last ice age, the Great Lakes would have never existed.
I also never realized that how closely related those two different pieces of artwork were.
Yeah, the two realistic recreations of both the Mastodon and the Great Lakes really give you a deeper appreciation for the Ice Age.
So I guess if it wasn't for the Ice Age, we wouldn't be here today.
Wait, I thought the Ice Age happened because of the squirrel who was trying to chase that acorn.